We're ready to start with our next speaker. It's truly a pleasure for me to introduce a friend and a fellow advocate, Richard EINHORN. He was hit with a sudden hearing loss, but he has been able to bring his lifetime knowledge of audio technology to find better ways to hear. And he's going to take you on a ride and give you all the insights he has about how things can really sound good, even if you have a hearing loss. So here is Richard with hearing technologies from a consumer perspective.
Thank you. And I want to thank Frank Lin for inviting me to this conference, and Tracy Lustig and everybody at the Institute of Medicine. It's a tremendous honor to be here. And I'll take you on, I'll show you a little bit of how I use how I use hearing technologies, at least from my perspective. And I have a couple of ideas on how where I think things are going. Basically, I've spent my entire life trying to hear better, and sound has always been the primary way I orient myself to the world. And now that I live with a very serious hearing loss, my quest to hear better has taken on a special urgency. Hearing better is absolutely essential for my mental and physical well-being, and it's something that I don't know from studies, but I know simply as part of who I am. By way of background, I'm a recording engineer, a former record producer, and a composer. I have a lot of professional experience with professional sound equipment of the highest caliber and working in many difficult acoustic environments. This is long before I had a hearing loss. This is a recording I produced. It's with Yo-Yo Ma, and it won a Grammy. And this is a piece of music that I've composed called Voices of Light. And it's performed all over the world, and it's going to be next performed at the National Cathedral of Washington on February 22nd, and I hope everybody can come. It's got over 200 performers, and it's quite a show. I'm also known as a hearing loss advocate. This is from the New York Times. It's advocating for loops, which I hope my loop advocate friends will forgive me. I will not be talking about today. And I've not only been written about in major media, but I've published articles about my approach to hearing loss in medical magazines, both here and abroad. And I also have a serious hearing loss. Basically, I'm deaf in the right ear, and I have a 60 dB conductive loss in my left. It's a terrible thing to live with this condition, and it's affected every single part of my life, except, interestingly enough, composing, which is primarily an active imagination. I need about this much hearing to be able to compose, and I have this much, so I'm good to go. Without good hearing technology, though, I'm functionally deaf, and it's about hearing loss technology that I'll talk with you today. Normally, I have a bunch of examples that I play of what my hearing loss sounds like, and but this time, because of time constraints, I only have one. I couldn't resist adding this one at the last minute. I did mention that my right ear is deaf, but it isn't quite deaf. It just has unusable hearing, and because I have a conductive loss in my left, I can simulate the sound of what my right ear sounds like, and I thought this might be of some interest to you to hear. Recruitment and hyperacusis is something that I haven't found too much literature about that describes the physical effect of it, but when it's severe, it's really very unsettling. This is a recording that I made of myself reading words of Beethoven talking about his own hearing loss, and this is the way it sounds in my left ear with amplification. Oh, how harshly was I repulsed by the doubly sad experience of my bad hearing, and yet it was impossible for me to say to men, "Speak louder, shout, for I am deaf." Ah, how could I possibly admit such an infirmity in the one sense which should have been more perfect in me than in others, a sense which I once possessed in highest perfection. Okay, now that's a recording of what it sounds like normally in my left ear and normally to you. This, believe it or not, is an example of what that exact same sound file sounds like when heard through my right ear. And you can crank this one up. You're right. It's unbearable. And any sounds above 50 dB SBL, I hear nothing below 50 dB SBL, and then everything above 50 SBL sounds exactly like that. And it's so unbearable that typically I wear an earplug in this ear and I've had panic attacks, which I never had before I had this. Hearing loss is a very, very serious, very dangerous and disabling condition. And it's not very well understood by many of us. I certainly didn't understand anything about it until it started to happen to me. Forgive me for playing that so loud, but it gives you some sense of what it's like. The other examples don't have to be so loud. Sorry about that. All right. I want to talk about the hearing loss technologies that I use. There are, of course, no cures and no correction for it. So the questions for hearing loss technologies really are twofold. One of them is, given damaged hearing, how well does the technology let somebody hear? In other words, how good is it? And the second question is, how easy and comfortable is it to use? Okay, those are the two real questions about hearing loss technology. And in other words, you can describe them as questions about acoustics and questions about ergonomics. Okay, I'm going to focus today on wearable and portable devices to hear better in noise, and hence not about loops, because loops require infrastructure in order to work. These are devices that you can either wear or that you can somehow or another carry around with you, the person with the hearing loss. One obvious one, and obviously I can't talk about them all, is hearing aids and PSAPs, the personal amplifier products that people were talking about earlier. Now, everybody knows these, and they're really, really have terrific ergonomics. You just stick it in your ear, and you're done, basically. I'm oversimplifying, obviously, and when you're trying to do it, of course, whenever you do a demo, you can't do it exactly. I'm oversimplifying, but the ergonomics of a hearing aid are extremely good. And the technology inside is very, very impressive. And now I'm going to start to antagonize people, and forgive me because I love you all. But the truth is that many users, including myself, are less than satisfied with the performance of hearing aids in noisy situations. And the reason for that is because of an inadequate acoustic technique that's used in the hearing aids. There's a lot of groovy things that go on technologically inside a hearing aid, but essentially the main issue is that the microphone placed on or in the ear is too far away from the desired sound source to be able to pick up a clean enough signal for me to be able to extract speech from noise. Now, we could talk about this forever, and I believe people have spoken about it earlier on in this conference, but let me just give you a graphic example, an audio example of what that means. In this example, I hold a microphone right next to my ear where a hearing aid is while a friend of mine talks at a noisy cafe, and I bring the microphone very, very slowly over to the person's mouth. And you'll hear not only does my friend's voice get louder, but it also gets clearer as the ratio between the background noise and my friend's speech changes in favor of my friend. Dana, I have it could be a omnidirectional microphone pointed at you. It's currently at ear level, and what I'd like to ask you to do is to talk a little bit, and I'm going to move it from ear level, which is where a hearing aid tries to hear, gradually over to your mouth.
Hi, Richard. Hello, my name is Dana, and I grew up with hearing loss myself. My parents started noticing that I wasn't speaking very well by the age of 2.5. So they started taking me to doctors and clinics. And it took about a year to realize that I had hearing loss in both ears. And 2 out of 3 clinics that I also had a failure.
You get the idea. You obviously, what you want is a microphone as close as possible. Now, typically people have stated, well, if you use a directional microphone, that will help. Not enough. 3 dB, 4 dB, even 6 dB improvement is not enough for people with severe hearing loss. Also, people have said, well, we can clean it up with digital signal processing. No, you can't. The signal processing in a hearing aid runs in a tiny little battery. And the truth of the matter is that it is very, very impressive what they're able to do in there. But I've used professional signal processing software that runs on a Mac Pro to try to clean up that recording, and I cannot do it. There may be some avant-garde algorithms out there that would be able to do it, but in general, no. Basically, you need to get a microphone close. And in fact, you can with supplemental hearing technology, which, you know, assistive listening devices, ALDs. These are two common kinds. The one on the left is a very, very simple device. It's just simply a microphone and an amplifier. And the one on the right is a more elaborate one, and I actually have it here, which is a transmitter which has a microphone in it. Whoops, a transmitter with a microphone in it, and a receiver that receives it. And the idea is that you can take this and you give it to somebody, or you put it somewhere, and then you wear this around your neck. And the idea then is that somebody can be holding this and talking to you, or you could put this on a lectern or something like that. And then you're supposed to then get it into your hearing aids. The audiologists typically recommend this by using a gadget called a neck loop. And you take this thing out, you plug it into the bottom of this, you now wear this around your neck, you put your hearing aid in T-coil, I'm not going to do it, and voila, you're supposed to be able to hear what's in this microphone. All right, there's just one problem, okay? It's not a robust system. What the main issue is, the T-coils are very susceptible to hum in electrically ungrounded and or not very well set up environments. And let me just play for you what that hum sounds like. You can't hear through it. Okay, in other words, if you don't know that your environment is hum-free, there is no way you can use a neck loop with this thing. Now, hearing aid companies are aware of this, and so they've created integrated systems, and you see one right here. This is a microphone that connects wirelessly to here, that goes to a streamer that looks very similar to the one I'm actually wearing, and the streamer then connects with a different wireless technology to your hearing aids, not neck loop technology, near field technology. Now, there's many good things about this system. It works. But there's some issues connected with it. Namely, the main issue is that the main two issues are that it's expensive, and the second issue with it is that it's proprietary. I happen to have this system, and I don't like that microphone, with all due respect to the people that made it. I want to use another manufacturer's microphone, but because I'm locked into that hearing aid and that streamer, I can't use another manufacturer's microphone. From a consumer's standpoint, I think the technical term is absolutely outrageous. Okay, so now, in addition to that, all ALDs, including the one I'm wearing, including all the other ones, they share one common problem. You're carrying around a whole bunch of stuff with you, okay? And nobody wants to do that, right? So the basic conclusion is that while acoustically ALDs really do solve the problem, and they work, they're essentially a Rube Goldberg contraption. You got to think about this. There are two wireless technologies in here. This is again, another technical term, a royal mess. And the bottom line is can we figure out another way to do this? Well, by sheer accident, or actually by a great deal of thought, I stumbled across something that might point to the future. So I guess my presentation here is a little bit of a transitional one between what was spoken about in terms of technology and the innovations that are coming next, and that is that smartphones are, if you think about it for a second, they are absolutely, they're absolutely very powerful computers. They have a microphone in them, they have an amplifier, and they have an output that you can get sound out of. And in fact, for some of them, for example, the iPhone, the sound quality is just below professional quality. So they already have, as I said, they have mics, amps, and DSP. That's digital signal processing, filtering, compression, tailoring the sound. Now, it turns out And we already have them in our own pocket. So we don't have that burden of carrying all that junk with us. Many of us, not all of us, obviously, but many of us do. So the next step, of course, is to see whether or not, my next step was to see whether or not I could rig this thing. Let me get this stuff off. Is to see whether or not I could rig this thing for hearing loss. And in fact, you can. The first thing you do is you throw away the Apple earbuds and you get yourself a really good pair of earphones, okay, that go in the ear. The next thing you do, and now you're done. You got a hearing aid app like that one up there, and you're good to go. You've got a very, very high quality hearing assistance device. Believe me, it's like Galileo with the telescope. I've told this to many, many audiologists, but very few don't have the next question, which is, can I try it? Well, yes, you can. But very few people have tried it. People who have tried it, including people with severe hearing loss, have told me that this system works. And there's starting to be peer review of this technology, and all of it basically bears out what I'm telling you anecdotally. The next thing that you can do to refine the system is to put a directional microphone on it. Now we're starting to get into Rube Goldberg territory, okay? But think about this for a second. A smartphone rigged for hearing assistance suggests a new approach in which you simply don't have any of this stuff, but you simply put your smartphone on the table like that. And it's got a microphone built in it. It's got signal processing good enough to be able to do directionality and much more processing than you can get off a hearing aid battery. And then it goes wirelessly from here into my hearing aid. No streamer, no junk. You wouldn't even know that it could be there. It's easy to imagine something like this. You get improved acoustic techniques. You get improved ergonomics. Now, is this a pipe dream? Well, I thought it was 3 years ago when I first realized that it could be done. But I was at CES, and the first made-for-iPhone hearing aid has just been released. Okay? Now there's issues with this. You don't want a made-for-iPhone hearing aid. You want a made-for-smartphone hearing aid. You want something in which the smartphone becomes the hub of an assistive, of a transparent assistive listening system. Now, people are going to be speaking about wireless standards and all sorts of other technology later, and I'm being given the red lamp. So I'm going to just summarize here and say that, as I see it, hearing loss, of course, is a medical problem. But hearing better, as well as your ears will allow, is essentially an acoustical and ergonomics problem. Present hearing tech is often not adequate because it doesn't address the acoustic and ergonomics problems in a total holistic way. And a new approach to hearing assistance, which is based on smartphones, could dramatically improve the ability of millions of people to hear. Thank you very much. Okay, I have to pack up here, forgive me.
Thank you very much. I think there's a confluence of time when, unfortunately, he lost his hearing, but we now have somebody in the community who really does understand sound, and I think that is going to have some real results for all of us. And by the way, the Voices of Light is really a wonderful oratorio, and I do encourage you to try to get tickets to see it. It's really amazing. Thank you, Richard, very much. I now would ask Karen to come up